Hey everyone, today for another vlog. So I kind of changed my mic setup. Hopefully it's better in terms of like the me blowing into the microphone problem that I noticed in the previous one. So for today the topic is quite simply speaking versus writing. You might notice I've made more vlogs recently because I just enjoy speaking. I don't know what to say. It's an enjoyable medium, and I say this because when I was at quote unquote work today, I spent my time writing for myself because my job barely asks me to do anything, so I just have so much time to fill. So I just decided to write for myself, just writing the thoughts I have, like, the things that are on my mind. Not really journaling, but more like taking a subject that piques my interest and just writing about it. So it's sort of like what I'm doing right now, but in the written form. And like it kind of makes me wonder, why should I have those two different mediums, like speaking versus writing? Do those serve different roles? And I think it's quite obvious that they do serve very different roles. But I would say to just summarize my thoughts, which I would kind of describe more, is that speaking is more fluid and writing is more solid. Uh, if that makes sense, like as a sort of allegory. So speaking is more fluid in the sense that it's easier for things to come out. There's a certain power from that fluidity, right? Like it's not just that things are easier to come out, but they come with a certain emotional charge. It seems like they have more texture and such. It's just way easier to be uh, explorative, you could say, creative for things to come out when you're speaking. Um, Writing on the other hand is very cool because like you kind of like lock your ideas, right? Like you can see them, like you write them, and then you can see them, and then you can edit them. And then once you post the thing, it's kind of done. It's kind of like something you can refer to, and the ideas are kind of settled. It's more solid. But the downside of that solidity, of course, it's harder to produce. Right? It's literally harder. It tends to make you more perfectionist as opposed to the speaking, which kind of flows naturally. But on the other hand, there's a certain like more durable quality to it. Um, Both have their strengths and their weaknesses, of course. Right? Like some people are more comfortable with one or the other, for instance. But I think I will keep doing both. I mean, the thing is that when I'm at work, I don't really have a better thing to do than to just write for myself. It's not like I can draw, for example. I would draw if I could, but obviously I can't just start drawing in the middle of the office. People will just start noticing it. Um, but yeah, writing is really interesting. They're both mediums of self-expression, of course, but quite different. I would say it's easier for me to just be off the cuff, improvisational with speaking. So I tend to be more casual in it, whereas writing is more like formal and explaining an idea. But of course, the two can blend together. But I find writing to be pretty hard, honestly. Even when I try to just let the words flow and not really try to edit myself too much, there's a certain like resistance to it that I don't find in speaking. But I think I guess that would come with more experience, more deliberate practice of just letting the words flow. But yeah, writing is it has this resistance, like I think a lot of people have this experience as well, where like writing is not easy. A lot of people even dread writing. I noticed that in myself a bit as well. Like I think it's because like it's cool when you were asked to write, like it was really unenjoyable, and there was also like a lot of stress associated to it, like schoolwork and such. And, like yeah, school has a school leaves a huge imprint onto you, man. It's crazy. Uh, how much that stuff messes you up. Yeah, but yeah, I think I'll keep these vlogs going even if I start writing things. I don't plan to write super serious things. Just, I mean, I guess kind of, but like usually I'm just talking about my views, which are always the same. It's pretty funny when you write. You notice because you have more of a more distance on what you make, right, than speaking. That's kind of the advantage as well. You have more distance. You can reflect on your stuff more. You notice, I mean, I notice with my own writing is that first of all, my writing is really repetitive and in terms of the structures, but also of its content. I always say the same things. I'm not very original. I think I could probably summarize all of my ideas in like 3 pages, probably. And I don't think there would be that much lost. Like there would be a lot of examples missed, of course, and like details. But I think, which is why it's a summary and not like a condensation or something, or like a compression or something. Um, yeah, it would be more like pointers to my ideas and more like terms. But I think I could confidently summarize my ideas in 3 pages, honestly. I don't think I really want to. I mean, I've kind of done it in a way. I don't think I want to bother posting it, but yeah, I think it's always the same things that I say. It's kind of funny. It's kind of the. It's even more true for other people. I think for other people it would be like most people who are not very interesting in life. They always just say the same things. It's very a lot of people are very predictable. As sad as it is to say. Like the specific things they say might not be fully predictable, but like the kind of like scenarios and moods. Like I'm not really sure what's the term, but like it's almost like a an acting function, you could say. It's like when people are mad, they need to show that they're mad. Or that's like the acting function. Showing anger. That would be like how you would uh, summarize like each part of the script, right? And I think most people have a very limited script. It's kind of like imagine if you had all the states. Imagine if you had like a state machine, where like you have notes that describe the state of someone who was like he's angry or he's sad or he's anxious or something. You have all these states and like you have the transitions between those states. I think the state machine for a usual person that doesn't really reflect about life would be very limited. I think it would be actually very easy to make if you just knew them for like a few days. As crazy as it is to say, most people are just not very deep. I don't know. And I think the reason why most people are not very deep is because I think modern society has really like removed us from the experiences that really like shape us, right? Like you know, one thing I'm thinking of when I say that is like the fact that people used to have like initiation rituals, right? Like you have like not sure what's the term in English anymore, but rite of passage is a rite of adulthood, like things that you have to do which are difficult, but like sort of the village helps you with in order to become an adult. Those things were challenging, of course, but like they were important as well. And I think it's not controversial to say that people used to be much closer to life and death. Like life and death were like much closer to everyday life than it currently is. In the modern world, death is completely hidden away. It's turned into an abstraction to the point that like we give it a cause. When someone dies, we give it a cause. We do not say that someone dies because everyone eventually dies. We say that someone dies because of X. Someone dies because of a heart attack. They die because of cancer. They die because of a lung disease. As if to imply that without the X, no one would ever die. It's almost as if like this death is a bug in the machine, in the matrix. It's not supposed to happen. It's almost like how it's the impression that you get from living in society, in my opinion. But of course, the main impression that you get is that death is completely denied. No one talks about death. Uh, no one talks about limitations, right? No one talks about the fact that the fantasy of the economy being on a perpetual exponential curve is complete bullshit. No one talks about that. Yeah, and it's no wonder that we are incredibly bad at dealing with grief in general as a culture and as individuals, and therefore that we're really bad at living. Because of course, if we can't deal with death, then how could we be good at living? So I started this rant. So why did I start this rant? I started with initiation rituals and the fact that we don't really think, yeah, because of people's very limited state machines, and the fact that you get summarize most people with a very simple script. And I started talking about this because I had a very simple script as well. And most of my ideas could be summarized in 3 pages. Um, yeah, I think I think this there's a term. I think I wish I had a better term for it. I would call it like the pressures that shape conversation flows. In the sense that like conversation in a sense could go everywhere, right? If it was unrestricted. But in society, they are like you could almost call it like gates or like walls that restrict the conversation flows in such a way that it cannot go towards everything. So death is a huge there's a huge like gate that prevents people from talking about death, right? But of course, the main the other main source of like blockage of conversation has to do with like everything to do with power, right? So anytime you're in a power that relationship to someone, which is pretty much always the case, right? Someone who is your superior, you cannot be honest with them. Power restricts conversation flows. Someone who is like if you tell them something that they don't like, then you're in trouble and such, right? So for your own survival, there's like this implicit conversation gate, and I think it's so incredibly obvious. Right? You don't need to be. I don't think me pointing that out surprises anyone that there are conversations that you simply can't have in context. Um, in certain contexts, and like we call them taboo. It's more than just a taboo. Really. It's like it's just like this sense of like you can't go into that because it creates discomfort and it creates it puts you in a bad situation and such. Right? So it's not even like taboo or racism. It's something a bit more general, I would say. And yeah, like the way power dictates conversation flows, it's rather obvious when you think about it. But like like it's crazy the extent to which it shapes our speech and the way we talk to one another, like the relationships we have with one another. Um, because the consequence is that people basically just talk about bullshit all the time. Like I find that really just unsport. I don't know what's the word in English. It's just unbearable. Yeah, unbearable is the word. It's so like people just talk about bullshit all the fucking time, to the point where like if I didn't know any better, I don't think I would even know what is not bullshit in life. Right? What does it mean to live? Because all people do is like they just gossip, and they always do the same things. Like most people never change. It's pretty sad to watch. I'm not saying that I'm some kind of pure being, but like I'm like 23, and I can just tell that the people around me do not change, and I don't want to be like that. That's the place I'm coming from. Right? I'm not saying that I'm better. I'm just saying that I don't want to be like those people, and I don't want my life to just be a series of bullshit and conversations that lead to nothing and routines that lead to nothing. And yeah, I mean, I'm out here speaking to myself, so I don't know if I'm really doing better, but at least I get the sense that I'm being better because I'm being more reflective. Maybe it's just cool, but I don't know. It's very easy to bullshit yourself, of course. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting how it started with speech versus writing because I don't think I really talked much about this, but I think in a way it kind of relates back to this original topic, right? Like speech is um, speech is easier to be creative with. It's more fluid. It's more like air, really. I would say it's more like air rather than fluid. Air is a fluid, but it could also be water. But I think speech is like air, and writing is more like earth. And I'm not very good with earth. I'm more an air type of person, but and solidity has its values. Can't deny that. And yeah, speech has this sense of like you just speak what's within you. I think it has this more like authentic quality to it, which I really like. Like the things that matter, if you they, I find that they come out much easier than to writing. I think writing has for me has a sense of like it always feels a bit clumsy. Like I'm not a good writer, and so when I write something, it always feels like it's not well put. Whereas with my speech, it just feels like it is what it is. Right? I don't really feel the need to shape it in another way. Just like air, I think the comparison is kind of good. You don't really feel the need to like shape air, but you kind of feel the need to shape Earth, if that makes sense. Right? Like you kind of want Earth to be like this tidied, well polished and stuff, but like air is just what it is. Right? It's just what it is. Once it comes out, it's just how it's gonna come out. Yeah. So I think that's about everything I'd say. Quite an interesting series of threads that arose. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.